What is up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. It's time for episode 6 of Guardians franchise, and we've got so much to get into. The offseason has barely begun. We're here on November 17th, and there's just tons to run through. As you can see, the Baltimore Orioles defeated the San Diego Padres in a 7-game World Series to take the crown. Gunnar Henderson was the World Series MVP, and it was a 7-6 game in Game 7, with both teams scoring in the 9th to push it into extras, and then an 11th inning walk-off for Baltimore. So what an amazing series that was. I'm actually learning about that myself. I didn't really deep dive it, so I'm looking at this with y'all for the first time. Crazy. What a series that would be. Honestly, I wouldn't even mind seeing that in real life. You know, the Padres got a lot to do to kind of put themselves on that level, but the Orioles very much playoff contenders here. So there you go. Baltimore wins the first World Series here in our season, or in our franchise rather. All right, so from there, let's go ahead and let's see, what do we want to do? Well, I'll tell you, I had a 421 season score. Who cares? We'll check that one off the box. I removed the DSL blue team. Remember, I had 2 DSL teams? I ain't doing all that shit. We got rid of one of them, smushed them together. There you go. And then started moving guys around, rearranged all that. So that's in the books. Told you guys I was going to do that. I'm trying to think before the hitter and pitcher review if I get into some of these other things. You know what? I'll just tell y'all. There is expansion, y'all. You guys are going to see it here anyway if you're looking at the screen ever. Again, I never know who's a second screener and who's kind of dialed in. In fact, most of you that watch have said that you watch Charlotte anyway, so I totally get that. But you can see expansion list and submit protection lists, so you would have known. So I'm not trying to keep it a big deal. We have expansion. Speaking of Charlotte, I did name one of the teams after her. The Charlotte Dachshunds coming in here. You can't really see this pick too much. And yes, these are AI generated, which, hey, I hear the issues with AI art and all that. I think using it for non-commercial use like this, probably not the biggest deal. So hopefully y'all don't hate me too much for throwing a little AI logo up there. I got one on my perfect team, OOTP team as well. So again, I totally understand some of the arguments against it and everything. I don't want everything to just be AI generator or whatever, but whipping up a stupid little logo for the game doesn't feel like the craziest thing. My favorite part about this one, and again, you can't see it because it's small, is the tail is a bat. And that was just, you know, for all the things the AI gets wrong, like they have no idea how words work and stuff like that. Putting the bat as Charlotte's tail, chef's kiss there. That was fantastic. I guess if you do the chef's kiss, you don't have to then say it. Probably. It's kind of a one or the other sitch. Any hoozle. We also brought in the Portland Rosebuds. Just kind of came up with that randomly. Don't really have any rhyme or reason for that. I mean, obviously it relates to Portland, but that's what I came up with. There's a little logo that was generated for that. And so I thought that was cool. So something that we've done before, and if you watch me over on Twitch, this will not surprise you too much. We've gone to the 4x8. Instead of making a bunch of tiny little divisions like the NFL, let's thicken it up a little bit. So it's the AL Cobb, the AL Ryan, named after Ty and Nolan, of course, and then the NL Aaron, Hank, and then the NL Koufax. So I didn't get too crazy here in like being perfectly aligned. So there's some things that, you know, are a little tough maybe, like logistically, like the Cubs and the Cardinals sitting there in the middle of the country with all these West Coast teams. Well, that's just kind of how it is, right? I didn't do a bunch of league rearrangements. I kind of worked within the confines of AL, NL, and kept it pretty simple. Charlotte's going to join the AL East along with the Guardians and the Tigers. Meanwhile, us, of course. I'm saying the Guardians as if that's not us. So we're joining the AL East. We're taking the Tigers with us and the expansion team. You know, expansion teams are usually pretty rough initially, so that's a little benefit for us that we will get divisional games against them, but everything else about it is exceedingly difficult with Baltimore, Toronto, Tampa Bay all making the playoffs there. So that's going to be difficult. In the AL Ryan, you've got the AL West, along with the Twins, Royals, White Sox. So there you go. There's 5 teams there plus the extra 3. The NL Aaron, they get the AL East. God, I keep saying the wrong league like a dumbass. The NL East, obviously. I just said NL Aaron and then immediately went to AL East. Hello. But yeah, they get the East along with Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and the Brewers. So there's your three central teams going to the Aaron. And then in the Koufax, they get the expansion Rosebuds along with the Cubs Cardinals, as I mentioned. So there's a little imbalance in that the NL Aaron only has 3 current playoff teams, but they've got 3 above 500 teams. So, you know, it's not like the Brewers and Mets weren't pretty competitive. In fact, actually, no. One of them or both of them made the playoffs. Oh, yeah. Okay, they just don't have the little X. So then every division has 3 playoff teams. Okay, so actually hey, sometimes a happy accident there, baby. What's going on with that? Because I did not plan that out, and here I am looking at it. I'm like, okay, each division got 3 playoff teams. There you go. There will be a new playoff alignment. Let me see if I can show that easily here. We'll go to game settings, league settings, options or rules. I never know which one. Rules. Or no, it was options. So custom playoffs. So now we're going with the 2 division winners and 4 wild cards per. It's going to be best of 5, best of 7, best of 7, best of 7. So wild card, division, championship, World Series. Same rounds there. First seed is going to get a bye, and then it'll play out regular like that. And it'll reseed after each round. So you won't necessarily know who you're going to face if you don't know how the other playoff went. I like that. I think that's kind of fun there. Things can kind of change, and you could end up playing totally different team and kind of flipping some things. So there you go. Expansion quickly. You know, a little bit of a surprise. I know some people turn it off. It is a little early for it. Like, I don't know what the right time is. It's a lot in the first off season, but hey, it's part of it, baby. Let's go. I leave the evolution on. I take certain things off. As you can see, active roster size and secondary roster size, I don't want that being messed with. So we don't allow that. In fact, I don't want DH being messed with either. So I will turn that off because I want DH everywhere. I don't want pitchers batting, okay? It's just not for me. I respect if you still love that. The only thing I would disagree with people on is, like, I don't think it's that much more strategy. The whole, like, chess v checkers thing, which I think is actually one of the quotes in the game when there's loading times, I don't really agree with that. I think you can make the opposite case, that the AL game was a bit more complicated to manage, because in the NL, you've got the ready-made, obvious solutions of when to take a pitcher out for the most part, right? Unless they're really dealing and it's like kind of teetering there. So every once in a while, it's a tough decision. But what about in the AL? What about when, you know, they're doing pretty well, but then you don't have them coming up to bat? I don't need to get derailed on this. I don't care about pitchers batting. All right, so there you go. Expansion coming. We're going to have the expansion draft. Hopefully we don't get ravaged. Right now, this is our 20, and you can take a quick look at it. I'm not going to get into it completely right now because things could move. We could trade pieces, excuse me. I mean, Bieber's on here right now, and he's a free agent, so we don't even know if he's going to be on our team, etc., etc. So let's get into the review of the team, and then we'll go from there. I'll talk about some moves we've made, both with personnel and players, and then get into the player dev and the awards, and we'll finish up. So, I mean, we're a long way from finishing up. We're 8 minutes in, but I'm just kind of giving the timeline of things. So let's take a look at the ball club, kind of go over how everything went this year. So behind the dish, we started with Bo Naylor, who can definitely hit. He didn't hit that well this year, but he's got a good hitting profile that can certainly work. The BABIP and avoid K are a little rough. They held him back with the 30% strikeout rate and the 237 BABIP. So both really conspired against him, but I love the power and eye profile. I think we can improve this line. I don't love his defense, but for now, we'll stick with it. We'll kind of see how it goes. I share the same kind of outlook as my fellow OOTP YouTubers, in that I like to keep some of the players around from the original team. I don't want to just come in and completely flip the entire roster and go from there. By the way, no disrespect to people who do. There is fun in that as well. I've done that before, so no hate. But my general tenor recently with the YouTube series and the Twitch series is to, like, keep some of those core players around and try to build around them still being there. I would put the Nailers in that group. Now, Josh more so than Bo. If one's going to move, it's going to be Bo. Ideally, we would move Bo off of catcher, maybe into the outfield. I think he could be an interesting little outfielder. And I mean, he's 6'195", so I'm not saying little in terms of his size or anything. Although if you're listed 6 feet, you're probably 5'10". Let's just be honest about that too. No offense to my short kings out there. I'm a tall, lanky sumbitch. You know, I'm the inflatable dancing man in front of a used car lot. That's my shape. So I'm not out here dogging anybody else out. I'm just being honest about things. If you're listed 6 in sports, you're definitely 5'10 max. And if you're listed 5'10 or 5'11, then you're like 5'6, because why wouldn't you just put 6 if you were a true 5'10? Those are just stone cold truisms. Anyway, he would be a 60 in left field. So ideally we could move Bo off of catcher into left field and then keep him around. But I don't know if that's in the cards for this year or not. He didn't have a good year. He still managed 1.4 WAR, which was that his defense then? I'm sitting here ragging out his defense, and then I'm like, well, how the hell did he accumulate 1.4 WAR then? Had to have been. Okay. I mean, he was plus on framing. I use that very lightly because it was plus 0.9, but it was something. Okay. But an 18% runner throwing out rate is pretty bad. I don't quite understand where he got his WAR. So whatever. We're not going to linger on it. Austin Hedges did not get any WAR. He maybe want to start one, to be honest. His defense is brilliant. It's a defensive profile without a doubt. And, you know, he lived up to it. 2.6 framing for 133 innings is pretty good. But he's just such a dreadful hitter that it really takes away from the bottom line. And, in fact, that's been kind of how it is with his career. Now, I will say, that doesn't mean that it's not manageable to work with him still. Have him as the captain. Have him as the backup catcher. Like, this is not the reason that we weren't successful, right? I definitely think, sorry, I'm watching the Cubs-Pittsburgh game, and Jared Jones pitching against Justin Steele. Was hoping for kind of a pitching duel, and, you know, I don't want to say they got knocked around, but it wasn't like, holy smokes, matching pitch for pitch. In fact, Steele did get knocked around a bit. Jones weathered the storm and ended up pitching well. Anyway, Hedges, $4 million. I don't think we got it this year for him. David Fry was kind of our on-off third catcher, but then bounced around elsewhere. Did have 40 games at catcher, 11 at first, and then sporadically at third in the outfield. He ends up with an 88 WRC plus and 0.6 WAR, so all in all, not terrible for him. We need more offense, though. The point of getting him in was offense, so it wasn't ideal. I was hoping that the bat would have some juice, particularly against lefties. In fact, he was better against righties. So he did the exact opposite of what he was supposed to do. I mentioned Josh Naylor, Bo's brother, and he kind of underwhelmed. And listen, that's going to be a common refrain here because it wasn't a great season. Puts up a 98 WRC plus, was really hoping that he could be kind of a power bat in the middle of the lineup. It just didn't quite work out. He is in his ARB years, and he was a real dick about it, if I'm being honest, which, hey, maybe kind of fits, right? He's a bit of an out there type of guy, so I could see that. He knows his worth. He's going to want to get whatever he thinks he deserves, but the normal, you know, idea of offering, what is it, like 96% of their ask, which almost always works. If you just take their ARB number that they're asking for, it was 7.5 for him. I bumped this up to 7.7 because that's what I'm going to offer him in ARB now that he won't talk to us. But if you just take 0.96 or 96% of it, like 99.9% of the time that gets it done. Naylor was not having it. So we'll go F ourselves on that one, I guess. But we'll still have him on the team, right? The arbitration, he's going to be on the ball club. Andres Jimenez over at second base. Put up an all right season. I'll take 3 WAR there with a 97 WRC plus, solid defense and speed profile. Wouldn't have minded if he ran a bit more. Now that's just part of our team situation, but maybe we can turn him up a little bit, override, let him do a little bit more aggressive base running and base stealing. I certainly wouldn't be against that. I don't want you sack bunting. I know you're all right at it, but I don't want to give up outs is the thing. It's less about his skill of it and more about not wanting to give up outs. So Jimenez, pretty good season. I'm certainly happy with where he's at. 26 years old, just turned 26 a couple months ago. So still in the midst of his prime. Brilliant defender, spark plug, definitely a major key on this team. Jose Ramirez, the man, the myth, the legend, had a brilliant season, basically MVP caliber, and we wasted it. And that's really frustrating because he's 32 years old and we don't know how many more of these seasons he's going to have. So to piss away a 40 bomb season, he couldn't even get 97 ribbies. And that is so much less about Ramirez and more about the rest of the team. There's just no two ways around it. Somebody just got hit by a pitch. Who was that? Suzuki just got hit. I'm not going to give you play-by-play of a game that will be maybe days old by the time you're watching it. Sorry. I shouldn't even have it on if it's going to distract me. But yeah, Ramirez, like, I'm so happy about the season. I'm just mad that we wasted it. He should have driven in, a $120 hitting like this, but we just didn't have guys on for him. So I can't even imagine how many solos he had. But we still got him, for the rest of his career, basically, I would think. And hopefully he can continue to age well. The BABIP's a little light there. I wonder if we might get him in the development lab eventually. This year, no. I've already assigned that, so it's different guys. I can tell you that. We'll get into that maybe this episode. Actually, no, I did say that was going to be on the end of this episode. But we're not using a spot on Ramirez right now. From there, we have Brian Rocchio over at short, 1.2 WAR. Not bad, 105 WRC+, plus, solid defensive profile, good speed profile, high work ethic and intelligence. Definitely someone we think we can build with. Would love to see this power come through here, 35 out of 45, because even the 45 isn't crazy, but it would really change his dynamic. That is in that cutoff position where 45, while it is still below average, would be massive for a guy like Rocchio. So I would love to see that come through for him this year in the development lab. He is going to be in there, I believe, working on his bat speed. Then we have Chase DeLauder, who we called up relatively early. He ended up getting 98 games, 104 WRC+, plus, 0.9 WAR. I did have higher expectations. We were primarily playing him against righties. He only had 83 plate appearances against lefties, and they did not go particularly well. And it just didn't really come around. And it's the fact that the power isn't developed yet, and I was kind of hoping he would develop on the job type of vibe, and only 7 bombs. So it wasn't quite there, but 23 years old, just freshly 23. He's a month into his age 23 year. And so there's still a lot to like with Chase DeLauder. Very excited about him. We need this 60 power to come through. Well, at least get to 55. You might not need to fulfill the entire thing, but you got to add those 10 points there, especially with the 45i. You got to kind of have one or the other if you're really going to sustain. And I would take the power over the eye, and then maybe we can develop the eye down the line and turn him into a true star. But even if we get this power with the gap, avoid K and BABIP as is, and even if the eye stays at 45, that can still be a great player. I love my walks. I love my plate discipline guys, but this profile can definitely work as is if the power comes through. Then we got Heston Kjerstad currently in center field right now. He was great in AAA. Sorry, I botched that one. I pretended like I was going to fix it, but no, I'm just going to own that I misread the AAA numbers. I was like, oh, he was great, 126 WRC+. plus. No, it was a 72 in the majors. It did not go so well. I'm not freaking out. I'm still really excited about getting him. He's a major piece for us. We got him in the big Gavin Williams deal. Remember, they were relieving Gavin Williams, and they stuck to that for most of the year. 4 starts, 28 relief appearances. I think that's an interesting situation, but they just won the World Series. So what the heck do I know? Shouts to you. Enjoy. Congratulations, Gavin Williams. But Kjerstad, big part of our team. Really need him to come through. He's got 10 potential gap and home run power, 5 on the potential I, avoid K, and BABIP. Obviously, there's a lot of paths to him becoming a real star-level player. Plays great defense as well. Not really cut out for center, but right now he's just kind of hanging there. We'll figure it out and see where he's actually going to play. Jonathan Rodriguez was a late season call-up, ended up getting 44 games and did play very well. 125 WRC plus for him, 5 homers in his 156 plate appearances. Not a bad little player, big arm out in the corner outfield, and just a bunch of green on the card except for the 45 avoid K. So going to be kind of an up and down type guy. He's unhappy about his role on the team. Well, you're the starting right fielder, so if you don't like that, I guess shut up. That's the best I got right now. Kyle Stowers came up, didn't do much for us after coming over from the Baltimore trade. He does get to be an MLB champion because he did spend 15 games with the O's, so he gets his ring. And you know what? More power to him. Get that ring, buddy. You contributed. You hit those 3 homers. They're not going anywhere without those 3 homers. So get that bling for sure. But Kyle Stowers, another piece that I think could be important for us. Ideally, he's like a DH fourth outfielder type that we're not fully relying upon. But the upside is he could be a middle of the order type guy. He could be a really great number 5 hitter after Kjerstad and Lauder, or Naylor and Kjerstad. And I meant to say DeLauder, not Lauder. He's not Taylor Lauder from freaking Twilight or some shit. I know that's a dated reference, but has Taylor Lautner done anything since then? And I know it's Lautner, not Lauder. Shut up, okay? I'm arguing at nobody. The problem, though, by the way, with regards to that plan that I was mapping out of like, oh, Naylor, Kjerstad, Stowers, or throw in DeLauder, is they're all lefties. All 4 of them. And that makes it tough, man. It's like, on some level, you just got to put the best guys in, but then Jimenez is a lefty. The other Naylor is a lefty. It's like, geez, it's just kind of never ending. You got to have some balance to it, because then you're just not going to hit any lefties, because most left-handed hitters have worse profiles against lefties. So anyway, we'll have to figure that out. Bench guys, we talked about Hedges and Fry. Tyler Freeman, 59 WRC plus, not great. Doesn't strike out, but it's just a bunch of weak contact that didn't do shit because he didn't have any pop. He doesn't, can't strike the ball very well. Maybe should have put him in the lab. I don't think I did. And I wonder if I want to change that. We'll think about that. Andy Ibanez came over to hit lefties, and that's what he did, man. We made a few small moves to kind of say, hey, let's take a shot. If we can really get lucky, catch fire, maybe there could be something there. That did not happen. But Andy Ibanez was not the reason. He fulfilled his role. He was great for us. But at 31, we're not bringing him back. And then Gabriel Arias is a pretty big piece for us too, even if he's just a super util Swiss Army knife bench type guy. Coming off a 52 WRC plus though, I know the bat's bad, but there is upside. There's little 5s all over the place and then 10 with the gap power. If a bunch of these click in, along with the great defensive profile, then we might have something here. Like I said, give me a 2.5 win type super util, and I think that could be very valuable for us. So there's the offense. The composite numbers were bad. We were double-digit ranked everywhere except for strikeouts, where we were second. But that's bad because that means we had the second most. Base running was good, though. We were first in base running at plus 5.9. So there's something there. But that can only take you so far. Was that good base running, or was it stolen bases? Okay. Ramirez had 31. Jimenez had 19. Rocchio had 12 as far as the steals. So I'm sure it was some pretty good base running in addition to that, because I think we have some really strong base running profiles. Taking a look at the pitching, and we'll let's just do an innings sort here. Tristan McKenzie ended up being our innings leader because we were fortunate that the game does not start him off fragile. They probably should, but I'm not going to argue. We're not going to change it to the negative. We'll take the good fortune there. He did lead the team in innings, but they weren't very good. So, we got the volume, but at what cost? 5.17 ERA, 135 whip. Not great. I'll take the full season. Hopefully we can build upon it, but we need better performance for sure. He is a spark plug with high leader, adaptability, work ethic, intelligence. Another guy I might consider switching into the development lab. Although once you've selected, can you change? I don't think you can. So, okay, well, we're stuck with the guys that we've got in there, and neither Tyler Freeman nor Tristan McKenzie's in there. And you know what? That's okay. We'll figure it out. All right, so then McKenzie was our innings leader. Tanner Bybee was next with 182 innings, and he was actually good. 370 ERA, 122 whip, solid 16% strikeout minus walk. Few too many homers for my liking at 1.1. Even the hit rate was a bit high at 8.4, but he survived both of those and ends up putting up a really capable, solid season. Problem is we needed him to basically be the uber ace that he was back in 2023 to do anything. He needed to carry more weight, and that's not really his fault. That's just the nature of what we were doing, which was not much. Then we had Logan Allen coming in with 177 innings. So we had some real nice things go well that are foundational pieces that you need. Like, you need your best player to be a best player. We got that. We got an MVP caliber season from Jose Ramirez. You need, 3, 4. I'll take 3, and then you can kind of work from there. You need stalwarts at the front end of the rotation. We got 3. We got 3 guys with at least 175 innings. That's a big deal. with Logan Allen, Bibee, and McKenzie going at least 177 innings each. And yet, we have nothing to show for it. And Allen was pretty good too. 3.86 ERA, 1.23 WHIP. So Allen and Bibee were excellent. McKenzie stunk, and it's a real bummer. Now, again, if you're looking at the screen, you see another name here. I'll go ahead and get into this trade now because Reynaldo Lopez was not on this team. What are you talking about? He did throw 123 innings for Atlanta. They weren't good. So what the hell's he doing on our team? Well, we traded for him, if that wasn't obvious. We scooped him for Lamont Wade Jr., Stephen Kwan, and Wardquellen Vasquez, who's got a torn labrum. He was just kind of the extra throw-in prospect there. I talked about how left-handed we were. I like Lamont Wade Jr. We'll bring him up now when we're talking about covering the team because he came over as a deadline deal with Ibanez. 2 nice pieces. Problem was he didn't really fulfill his end with an 88 WRC plus and a minus 0.3 WAR. So that was pretty tough. And, I don't know what to do with him being a lefty. What do I really do with another left-hander? And he's not super standout. That's really the issue with regards to Lamont Wade Jr. So at 31 years old, or he's about to be 31 to start next year, I just didn't really see a ton of value in keeping him around. He's a fan fave, so we did take a little fan interest hit when we traded him and Kwan. But I felt like this was a pretty decent move, cashing in Wade here with Kwan. Kwan, another lefty, slap hitter. We've got this profile type too much. This is exactly Tyler Freeman's profile, basically. So there are some issues with that. Sorry, Jen's messaging me that she just got out of the movies. If you're seeing my attention a little bit distracted, I'll just be straight up with y'all. I'm texting her back saying, hey, I'll see you when you get home. I'm recording a YouTube video right now. But yeah, so we move on from Kwan. And that one was tough, because he's a fun player. I like him in real life, but I don't really like him in fantasy, and I don't really like him in OOTP. It's tough, right? Because I play both of those a lot. And so I have that little disconnect where I love watching him play. He's a fun player. He's a good player. I think he is that classic better real life than fantasy, or in this case, video game player. This is in essence a type of fantasy game. Although I will say, you would think that if he's a better real life player, then why doesn't he translate to this game? Well, he does in some cases. There's a world where we would have kept him. A, if we weren't mega left-handed. B, if we already had power that could kind of surround him. So I don't even want to say that he can't work in OOTP with Kwan. I stand by the fantasy thing where he's definitely a better real life than fantasy player, but the real life piece is reflected in a game like this. It's just that his particular fit doesn't quite work with us. And if he had more range, I think I'd even eat the bat and the left-handedness to keep him in center. But he has the same range as Kjerstad, who we have in center right now. He is a captain, so there was value there. But I thought this trade ended up working out pretty nicely for us with Wade and Kwan, and then the Wardquellen Vasquez thrown in. And you see, he's not much of a prospect. If he burns us, well, then that was a development piece by Atlanta, so more power to him. And we get Raylo, who's always been a longtime favorite of mine. I love that he's popping off this year in real life, and he's got some upside here. I think at the very least, he's a stopper for us because we can get 123 innings out of him from the bullpen, right? And so if starting doesn't quite work, if kind of going through the lineup 2+ times is just not quite what he's capable of, then I'll put him in that stoppers role and I'll be happy to run with him. He's got $11 million the next 2 years and then a team option for $8 million. But wait, they're paying 65% of it. So I thought it was a pretty good gamble there with Raylo, and I'm pretty excited to bring him in. As you can see, it'll be $3.9 million the next 2 years. Very palatable price. So back to the team review there. Our next innings guy was Carlos Carrasco at 112 2/3. Hey, good on him, man. Playing a nice little hybrid role there for us. Kind of a legacy player that we're keeping around right now as long as we can. He's not taking up any contract as a league minimum type guy. And he was decent enough. 4.07 ERA, 144 whip. Now, that's a dangerous whip. And if he pitches like that again, then the ERA will probably go up. He was pretty lucky to maintain a 4.07 ERA. As you can see from the FIP, it's 4.97, saying danger. So, if we keep him around in sort of a low leverage mop-up role, okay. If we move on this year, well, He is 37. It's one thing to kind of keep some core guys around. It's quite another to kind of hold a spot for a guy that love and respect, and very cool that he's come back from the cancer and been a major leaguer again and had some success since then. But that doesn't mean we have to keep him forever. So we'll see what happens with Carlos Carrasco this year. He did well enough for us in the 112 innings that he pitched. Then we have Emmanuel Clase. Speaking of getting volume from the bullpen, you know how we do, baby. 98 innings and 70 appearances, but a 4.03 ERA, 130 WHIP says maybe it was too much. I don't know. Or was it just the BABIP running hot at 319? Now, he is a bad BABIP guy. That's part of his career, so it's part of his profile. But he's got great home run suppression and control, which usually keeps the bases clean. The problem this year was more than the BABIP, which is kind of expected, was that his walk rate spiked up to 8%, which on its face is not horrendous. But for him, it's a little bit too high. He needs to be in that 4 or 5% mark because of how many hits he gives up. So he's a little wobbly there. Again, I don't know if it was pitching too much or not. I might tone him down next year and just let him be kind of that flat closer, and then we'll have like Raylo and Franco Alamon be the stoppers, or at least maybe turn down the stopper to like 8th later and lead. So maybe he's not pitching as many innings, but he's still in that high leverage spot. I wish you could sort here, right? I wish if I could click the IP that it would sort by innings. I see a bunch of 2s in here, and maybe I see a couple 3s even. Maybe we need more like 1.1, 1.2s and the occasional 2, as opposed to the bevy of 2s and even 3s that we see here from Clase in terms of the innings count. So we'll see how that goes next year, but I'm not too worried about him. We are paying him $4.5 million next year, so he's got a lot of wiggle room. Hell, even at the top end of this deal, the $10 million in 2027, he doesn't even have to be that great to earn it. So we're sitting great with this Emmanuel Clase deal. Then we had Ben Lively get 92 innings of very good work. This is another kind of semi-bummer for me. Not that I'm mad that he did well. That's awesome. 3.13 ERA, 108 WHIP in 92 innings for Ben Lively. It's that we freaking wasted it. Right? Like, this is exactly what you kind of need, is some seasons like this to go your way to make a playoff run. And we just pissed it away. So that really bums me out, but maybe he can keep that going. I don't know. I hope. And I'm not going to put too much stock into it though, because he is 33 or going to be 33 next year. And I don't know if the skills are there for that. I will say 45 stuff, 23% K rate. That's probably the one part that'll go down, which means there'll be more contact, which means the BABIP could go up, et cetera, et cetera. I get how all that scales, but Ben Lively didn't do too much here that was like so out of pocket. It wasn't a 90% left on base rate, which is unsustainable, or like a 210 BABIP. So I think we could continue to get like fifth starter type vibes out of him. So even if he puts up a 4.5 ERA, I'll take that. Bieber only threw 87 innings because he ended up getting hurt, of course. 368 or 363 ERA, 128 WHIP. He was great. He just got hurt. But now here he is, and I looked at an extension, and he wants $17 million for 3 years, which on its face isn't even too bad. I was originally going to offer the qualifying offer, which is 18.9. I still might. Now this would tell me we might be losing Shar here because Jen just got home. She's at least going to leave for a bit. I don't know if she'll come back. He probably is going to take it based on the fact that he only wants 17 per year for 3 years. But I think that might actually be okay because I don't know if I want to commit 3 years. Right? Even though he's got pretty good skills, that excellent control will help him age gracefully. He's got 70 stamina. He's on the right side of 30 here, but he is still fragile and coming off of a big injury. So I wonder if we just offer the QO. If he takes it, cool. And then we go from there, kind of a year-to-year thing right now with just the 1 year commitment. So I think that's what I'm going to go with right now. You can sound off in the comments one way or the other on it. One thing I will say is, with trying to get a backlog working, there may be times where I get comments on something that I've already kind of proceeded beyond that so that I can't do anything with that. But if you comment on this right when it goes up, there's a chance you catch me before my next recording session, because I currently don't have a backlog and I'm going to be working on one this weekend. So if you watch this on Thursday night or Friday morning, assuming it comes out when it's supposed to, then you can sound off on whether or not you think that QO is a good idea for Biebs. But I think that's what I'm going to go with. Then we had Joe Boyle come in. He did get 72 major league innings, only 31 for us, and he was terrible. It just was very bad. 59 ERA plus. That's all there is to it. He walked a ton of guys, which, hey, what do you expect for a 35 control? He's somebody I could have put in the lab too. I ended up, he was the first on the cutting room floor to work on his control. And I'll get into the guys that I did pick. I ended up going with 8 because you can change it. And, again, personal preference type of vibe. I thought 8 was pretty cool. Where can you pick that? Is that under rules? Yes. So, no, that's international complex. Well, I don't know where it is, but you know what? I know you can pick, and I picked 8. So there you go. It might have been on that page, and I just was blind because I'm a blind idiot. So there's also that. All right, moving on. What do we have? We go from Joe Boyle to, sorry, I'm checking things off on my little checklist here. Xavier Curry, 69 innings, nice. 4.70 ERA, 129 WHIP, it's fine. He has basically the same profile as Ben Lively, though, so that's kind of the range of outcomes that we're looking at here, right? Let's compare these two. On the small profile, where it doesn't have BABIP and home run broken down, they're exactly the same, 45, 50, 55, with 5 extra stamina for Lively. And then if you look at the breakdown, Lively has 50 homer, 55 BABIP, and Curry has 50 homer, 55 BABIP. So they're the same. So there's a wide range there. Franco Alomar, very interesting guy here. 55 overall, came in with big 70 stuff, was a huge piece out of the bullpen for us. 57 innings in just 44 appearances with a 2.51 ERA, 105 WHIP. A lot of numbers there, but the bottom line is he was fantastic. So he's been a real key find so far. I tell you what, y'all, I threw him in the lab to work on some stamina because I think he's 5 stamina away from maybe being a starter. Now, notice here that there's not even borderline starter listed. So he definitely needs a stamina boost to try it out, but he's got the 3 pitches. They're excellent. He's got 55 control. So I think if we could work that stamina up to 40, we might be able to try Franco Alomar as a starter. And if we put him as starter, where does his stuff go? It drops down to 60, but I'll take that. That's okay. That still works. But even as a stopper, he's a badass. James Karinchak doing James Karinchak things. Walking the yard, but still surviving because he had a 3.48 ERA and a 1.48 WHIP. It's dicey with that kind of control. I love the stuff, and he can definitely spike some good seasons when things are kind of working his way. But I don't know that he's not someone worth trading. Cade Smith, I had some high hopes for him with the big stuff. Was kind of hoping that maybe he could piece some development together, but it didn't come to fruition. 12% walk rate really sank him, so he had a 5.50 ERA and a 1.51 WHIP. And then Tim Herron was up and down as a key lefty for us. 3.12 ERA, 1.38 WHIP, just too high of WHIP, too many base runners. And then Joey Cantillo. Joey Cantillo, by the way, I think I missed this. Maybe I talked about it in a previous episode, but I don't think so. He took a big scouting jump in August. Current stuff and potential stuff went up, potential control. So there's some upside here that it's exactly what I was hoping for with him because he's a guy I've had pan out. Now, it was more in last year's game, actually, and 23. OOTP 23 and 25, 23 and 24 maybe. Why would I go out of order there? 23, 24, this is 25 we're playing. Joey Cantillo panned out a lot. 25 so far, I haven't seen him anywhere because this is my first sim and I haven't seen him in other people's sims. But I've definitely seen him develop before, so I'm not even surprised to see that little boost there. And hopefully that means some big things. We've seen the stuff really develop for him, and I'm hoping. He only threw 21 innings for us, but he's gonna be part of the rotation next year. And if we kind of order this in terms of quality, I think we're looking at Bieber, Allen, McKenzie, Cantillo, Lively. Well, if Bieber's on the team, then obviously he's number 1 and everyone moves down and Carrasco moves out. But as it stands right now, Carrasco still moves out. And I think we're looking at something like that. And then again, we'll see if we keep Bieber or not. So there you go. There's the team review. As far as the owner goals, we completed one called Build Your Farm because he's loving where the farm system's at, y'all. I guess it doesn't show it anymore since it was achieved. But right now, y'all, we have the second best system in the league. Now, Daniel Espino is at number 8, coming off the torn rotator cuff. Charlie Condon, number 1 overall pick this year, is at number 9. So 2 top 10 guys is big. But then Cantillo's up to 32. Khalil Watson's at 54. George Valera's at 74. So we got 5 top 100s and then 4 more in the next 100 with Angel Martinez, Wade Meckler, Chris Lavonis, another draftee, and Will Dion. So I'm pretty excited here by this group. We've got some pieces churning. We got some of those next tier that has some upside guys in it too. So I think even with some graduations next year, we could still be good. Now, no one's graduating off of this year. None of these guys even touched them. Well, did Valera play any majors? Oh, Valera played a little bit of majors, but I don't think it's enough to graduate. So he's going to maintain. And then Meckler might graduate. Which that's okay. That's fine. He wasn't the tent pole that was, kind of keeping our number 2 system afloat here. So there you go. That's what the team's looking like right now. Farm system ranked 2nd. Loving that. I mentioned the team score, the expansion, new coaches. We got some new folks in. Honestly, just wanted to shake some things up, see if that would help. So right now with the staff roles, this is what we're going with. Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. So we brought in Joe Madden to be our bench coach. Now, I hate when this happens. Between this session right now that I'm currently doing as I'm recording and the session before that when I did a bunch of this offline work, I offered somebody to be the bench coach. And I remember being very excited about them, but I cannot, for the absolute life of me, remember their name. And I didn't get a single email about them, possibly, mentioning whether or not they were interested. So I don't know who the hell it is. They signed elsewhere and, I'll just go F myself. I also offered a first base coach who didn't sign with us. This guy, Scott Brow, but at least we got the offer or the info here that he had originally liked the offer, but then before I could even re-offer him, he went to be Atlanta's manager. I can't blame him there. First base coach for Cleveland versus manager for Atlanta. Come on. But look at how nice he was. And his relationships, we can't see, but they were good as well. So I was pretty excited about Scott Brow. But the bench coach, oh my God, everything was perfect. The relationships were great with both us, with both our players and the personnel. Everything was just fitting, and then he gone. So that's a bummer because, I don't remember who it is. Maybe I'll stumble across the name and be able to show you. But hey, we got Joe Madden. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not a bad consolation prize. It's Joe freaking Madden. Legendary development, outstanding mechanics, excellent with aging. He's personable. He works well with personable. Love that. His relationships are pretty strong. He doesn't like Andy Ibanez that much. That's all right. He's gone. His average relationships are a little bit of a bummer because it is some of our key guys, Naylor, Arias, Rocchio, DeLauder, Kerstead, Rodriguez, but everyone else is good or better. And average is not bad. It's average, right? It's right there in the name. So I think this can definitely work. I like Joe Madden here as our bench coach. Then I brought in Luis Mesa to be our first base coach. He's controlling, but he works well with normal and he struggles with temperamental. I wasn't as worried about that. I was really more worried about what he can do. And he can coach a lot of things well, and his relationships are pretty strong. He's only got a fair relationship with Bo Naylor, but you know what? I've only got a fair relationship with him right now until he starts playing better. No, I'm just kidding. But it is kind of funny how he loves Josh but doesn't like Bo. Like, obviously, just because they're brothers doesn't mean they're the same. So I'm not suggesting that because you like one, you have to like the other. It's just kind of a funny juxtaposition that he's like, yeah, I like that one Naylor brother, but the other one, I got no use for that scrub. But then pretty good, handful of excellence, another handful of goods. Most people are under the average relationship, and then Bo under fair. No one's under poor either, so that's fine. And it's a first base coach. Doesn't need to be top of the line. And then Ryan Sandberg over at third. He's outstanding at catching, infield, and outfield defense, so that's great. And he's personable, works well with personable, struggles with controlling. So cool. He won't like the new first base coach, but that's really the only big conflict that we had. And frankly, they were content. So this hasn't updated yet. They were content despite some guys not getting along. Like there were some issues there, and it worked just fine. So I'm not too worried about this at all. I think this is definitely going to work. By the way, anybody with an iPad, an MLB at bat, having a struggle when you're watching a game, clicking onto another one, and then the video just errors out. I can't. I have to like go out and then go back in. It's nauseating. Anyway, so this is what our group's looking like. Pretty good. And now you've got the personables really popping off here. The only issue is that Sandberg and Carl Willis don't love Luis Mesa, but that's our first base coach, right? Like, who cares? Go stand in your little first base box and don't bother anybody. Controlling, you ain't controlling shit. You can control your little box over at first and hold everyone's batting gloves, you dickhead. All right, so those are new coaches. Fan interest is up to 87. It went down to 82 after the trade with Wade and Quan, but then back up to 87 because we gave a donation to somebody's thingamabobber. Who was running that? I can't remember who came to us asking for the dono, but yeah, I didn't do the whole foundation. I just did the donation. Let's see. Oh, I thought it was, but I wasn't 100% sure. It was Lamont Wade. That's hilarious. So Lamont Wade Jr. is like, hey, I'm building the foundation. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm trading you. But I still donated and we still get the fan interest from it. So that's good. All right, awards. Let me save here. Just because we've done a bunch and I haven't saved in a while. All right, starting back from the Gold Gloves. American League Gold Gloves. We didn't get anybody, but it was Jose Barrios, Jose Trevino, Anthony Rizzo, Jose Caballero, Rafael Devers, Javier Baez, Juan Soto, Luis Robert Jr., and George Springer. Javier Baez at least doing something for the Tigers. He put up 3 WAR. I mean, hey, we would have taken that. We wouldn't have had any problems with that when we were doing our Tigers franchise. He was not giving us 2.9 WAR. He had a nice 69 WRC plus, but with that good of a defense, you'll take that. National League, Mackenzie Gore, Patrick Bailey, Christian Walker, Nico Horner, Nolan Arenado, Dansby Swanson, Joey Gallo, Harrison Bader, and Fernando Tatis Jr. So an interesting group there. Then we go to the Platinum Sticks. Wait, were those first? I forget which ones are first. No. Oh, it's the reliever, then the Platinum Sticks. So AL Mariano Rivera Award winner was Yohan Duran, coming in unanimous. 32 first place votes for a 126 ERA and 087 whip. Yeah, that is deserved. He should have run away with it, and he did. What a monster. And what was his strikeout rate? He put up 34% K rate. Pretty filthy. Or excuse me. 34% strikeout minus walk rate. It was actually a 40% strikeout rate. Filthy. Scott Barlow. Man, we should have had a guy like that. Damn. Okay, now look. He was part of the big old deal that got us Kjerstad and Stowers, so I'm not going to be mad. But holy shit, did he go over there and dominate. In 51 innings with Baltimore, he put up a 160 ERA and an 091 whip. He was awesome. I mean, he was making a decent bit of money. They actually re-signed him for 2 more years at $7.1 million. No regrets. That's how relievers work. We could find a Scott Barlow type on the waiver wire at some point and maybe turn him. Oh, speaking of, Kyle Bradish on the waiver? Wait, what? I guess he had a disastrous year with them. Yeah, I'm going to claim him. He just so happens to be a favorite player of mine in real life too, so that's just an easy 1-2 punch there. So I'm not sure why he's available. He's not amazing, right? He's like 50s and 55s down the line, but there's something to work with there. He's on the right side of 30. I don't think he's a 7.04 ERA guy, and I'll take him for free for sure. Anyway, Barlow came in second there. Did we have anybody? Not even Almon? Nope. NL, it was Edwin Diaz. He put up a 194 ERA, 075 whip. Filthy. Platinum Sticks, we did get one. Jose wins it at third. It was Cal Raleigh, Vinny Pasquantino, Marcus Semien, J-Ram, Seager, Soto, Buxton, Santander, and Wyatt Langford. In the NL, Sean Murphy, Freddie Freeman, Ozzie Albies, Brett Beatty. Ooh, Brett Beatty, nice. Francisco Lindor, Spencer Steer, Jackson Merrill, Ronald Acuna Jr., and then, of course, Shohei. All right, AL rookie, Jackson Holliday. No surprises there. He put up casual 6 WAR. He completely panned out. Big part of their World Series run, I'm sure. Huge season for Jackson Holliday. He wasn't unanimous, though. In fact, it was widely split. 16 first place votes for Holliday, 9 for Wilyer Abreu out in Boston, who put up a 5-win season. He was excellent. 4 for Wyatt Langford, who put up a 4-win season in Texas. He was excellent. And then 3 for Nolan Schanuel out in LA. He put up a 5-win season. He was also excellent. So what a rookie crop there. You could have unanimously given it to Holliday despite these other seasons, to be honest, but I like that it was spread around because all 4 of those guys were amazing. In the NL, 4 guys as well, but not as close of a race. Jackson Merrill went 31-1 with the first place votes because he put up a 6-win season for the World Series runners-up, of course, Padres. So he was awesome. Yoshinobu Yamamoto was fantastic. He put up 214 innings of a 3.15 ERA, 110 whip. That was good for about 6-7 WAR, depending on which one you're looking at and if you're rounding up. So, frankly, they should have probably split. It should have been like a 50-50 type vibe there. I don't know how Merrill runs away with it personally, but it's whatever. Victor Scott II finished third. 5-win season for him, thanks to his speed and defensive profile. Remember, he had 115 steals. We talked about that. Very crazy. And then James Wood came up. Actually played most of the year with the Nats, but it was only worth 1 WAR. Didn't quite get things going. But that's all right. I'll take a rookie year, 680 plate appearances of grinding it out, kind of figuring things out and developing a bit. I doubt the Nats are too worried about that. Oh, Joe Adell got dealt for Nick Fortes. Yikes, dude. But he didn't have the breakout year that he's having in real life, so he's a bit easier to acquire. KC in Baltimore made a trade odds tiny. All right, manager of the year was Bochy and Mike Schilt. Oh, Bochy beat out Brandon Hyde. Interesting. AL Cy Young, Kevin Gausman. Wow. The reason that's a wow to me is just because how much he's struggling here in real life. But in our universe, 3.39 ERA, 113 whip, and 215 innings. Pretty solid, but not like eye-poppingly excellent type season, right? Like, that's good, but it looks like the AL crop just wasn't heads and shoulders, above there. Frankly, George Kirby got robbed here. Most innings at 222, best whip at 102, a 2.88 ERA. I'm sorry, what? Why did Gausman win this? I don't get it. 215 innings for Gausman. ERA was way higher. We don't just judge off ERA. Let's go off ERA indicators. The FIP was better, but not by enough. And honestly, when it comes to awards, right? When we're looking back at the season that was, I'm okay using ERA, like at face value. It's what happened. The good, the bad, the ugly. You get lucky, okay, that benefits you. You get unlucky, well, you take a hit with that. When you talk about an award, right? So I say take it all in there. And the ERA and whip for Kirby are way better. He did more innings. So was it just a FIP vote? And here's the difference between the WAR and the R WAR. So like kind of the Fangraphs versus Baseball Reference WAR. And the Baseball Reference, the R WAR, that is more of kind of taking things at face value. So like the actual ERA, whereas WAR here, which is Fangraphs' version of it, is more on the, core skills, FIP-based type of vibe. So yeah, I think Kirby got robbed there. And it was 16-12 on the first place votes. There was only 21 points difference. So at least it was close. And then Rodon got 4 first place votes. He had a nice bounce back season, 328 ERA, 109 whip. And we didn't have anybody. No surprise there. Ooh, look at Drew Thorpe for the White Sox making a big impact. Okay, coming in the Dylan Cease deal. He had an excellent season. In the NL, Spencer Strider doesn't get hurt, stays healthy, puts up a brilliant season. 296 ERA, 104 whip. Holy Toledo. And then Yamamoto was second. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to be second in the Cy, I think maybe you don't have to win Rookie of the Year, but you got to be much closer than they were. So that one was kind of silly. And then Corey Seager wins AL MVP. 8 WAR season for him. 49 doubles, 31 homers, over 110 runs and ribbies. Alvarez was second. Isaac Paredes came in third with 42 bombs. Wow. All right. We did have J-Ram down ballot, but that's it. And then in the NL was Freddie Freeman. 16 first place votes from him versus 13 for Acuna. And then 3 for Ohtani there, despite him finishing 5th. That's interesting. That's really interesting. So yeah, deeper ballot there in the NL, it looks like, right? Yeah, more guys got votes. So there you go. There's the awards. We didn't get much, just some J-Ram nods that are well-deserved. All right, so then that means let's finish it up with the player dev, and I'll let you know what we're doing here in the lab. So again, I said 8 players. I'm stubborn. I'm going to try to find that. Where can you change that setting? I know it's changeable. I just got to find where. Let's see here. Spring training roster size, international practice. I would have thought it was right here because like that's where you change the international practice and everything, but it's not. Is it under options? No. Okay, I'm not going to look forever. I am stubborn, and I am currently annoyed that I can't find it, but I'm not going to take forever doing this because I'll just get pissed. And we don't want that. Is it over here? No. It's got to be under league settings because it's league specific. Maybe it's not showing in the offseason so that you can't change it. I don't know. It just seems like here is undoubtedly the best spot for it, or even this side here. And yet, as my dumb ass stares at it, I simply cannot find it. Anyway, I picked 8. You guys can tell me where the heck to find that thing. God, I know I just said I'm gonna stop being stubborn and move off of it, and yet here I am still looking because it just drives me nuts. You know, that's one thing about this game, and any game, I guess, that's, you know, really menu intensive is you'll find stuff and change it, and then you want to go back to it, and you have no idea where it was. That happens to me in this game more than I care to admit. It's not under here, is it? No. It's not under there. I don't know where the hell it is, but now I'm pissed. Who cares? Development lab. Here's what we got. Heston Kjerstad. He is working on his plate discipline. It's going to take 3 to 4 months. Tanner Bybee trying to increase his pitch movement. That's going to be a 3 to 4 month thing. In fact, all these are 3 to 4 months, so we're going for some difficult stuff. He's struggling a little bit early on. Jimenez, actually, here, we'll do this. Kjerstad, Andres Jimenez, and Chase DeLauder are all working on plate discipline. Just since we'll group them since they're doing the same thing. Josh Naylor and Brian Rocchio, generating bat speed. They're both frustrated, unfortunately. Franco Alman, endurance, as I mentioned, he's on track. Joey Cantillo, improved control, he's on track. And then Tanner Bybee, increased pitch movement, he's struggling. So it's very early. This has been going on for like less than a week. So even the on tracks, I'm not going to put too much stock in, but I'm certainly not going to put a ton of stock into the guys who aren't performing well. Okay, I wasn't sure if I could click one of these and maybe at least show you guys these. So for the bat speed, you know, it's just trying to improve some pop. Is quality of contact for BABIP, and then bat speed is for power, I would think. 2-strike approach for strikeout rate. And then, because there's gap power, there's plate discipline. And then for the pitchers, increased pitch movement. That's pretty self-explanatory there. Trying to work on that BABIP and home run suppression. which could really help out Bieber. So yeah, I feel pretty good about the guys that we put in there. Again, Heston Kjerstad, Tanner Bibee, Andres Jimenez, Chase DeLauder, Joey Cantillo, Josh Naylor, Brian Rocchio, and Franco Alamon. There are definitely other guys that are viable candidates. And we'll see, maybe we do something small with somebody if things finish. But this is 3 to 4 months. So if you're talking November, December, January, you might not have enough time to run a whole second thing. But I like this first group here. And hopefully we get some positive results. I'm not expecting 8 of 8. Obviously, that'd be amazing. I'll take 5. Give me over 50%. I'd be happy with that. So there you go. Nice little offseason rundown. I know we haven't really moved deep into the offseason, but there's just so much into this first offseason, especially when you throw in the expansion draft. So this is the 20 right now. I'll go over it maybe at the beginning of the next episode because things will have changed by then. It's due in 10 game days. So, a lot's going to happen here in the next chunk that I do offline where I really kind of figure out what's going on here. We might not have some of these guys, but for now, this is what we're keeping. Stowers, Naylor, both Naylors, J-Ram, Jimenez, Arias, Kase, McKenzie, Herron, Raylo, Karinchak, Joey Cantillo, Jonathan Rodriguez, Rocchio, Bieber, because we don't know if he's going to be on our team, Jackenzie Noel, Valera, Sandlin, Henches, and Angel Martinez. Now, one thing is it might be too many relievers. I might have to dump some of these relievers for some hitters. Like, I might trade them too. Because I don't know if I want to just leave Henches open, but I don't know if he needs to be kept. He's coming off a really ugly season. And I think somebody like Tyler Freeman, even though he's not amazing, is probably a better keep. Right? Spark plug maybe can work on some of the power. I don't know. I think maybe just because of the way I think about how we can develop pitching and finding relievers and whatnot. Hell, we just tried to pick up Bradish. If we keep him, then he takes a spot. Maybe I go Henches over Herron, but there is 4 years of difference. Yeah, Herron, let's be honest, Herron is not special. I was just kind of throwing guys over there, and I didn't really do a detailed look, and now as I'm looking at it more, I'm like, no. It'd be Henches over Herron. Oh, they're both 28. I thought Henches was older. Pardon me. So, yeah. That's what I'm looking at right now. There's the offseason. We got expansion. We got free agency coming up. We do have money to spend. We have 28.6 mil. I put a bunch more in the scouting and development budgets. So we had tons of money even after putting in a bunch of money for the development stuff. We still have money. So I'm excited about that. We'll see what sort of moves we want to make. Let me know what you think about the offseason so far. And I'll see you next step. Peace.